This is Greg Kelly. Donate now to Toys for Tots, which works year-round. Go to toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots supports children in need throughout the year with programs like the Toys for Tots Literacy Program. Established in 2008, it has provided over 63 million books to disadvantaged children. The Toys for Tots Literacy Program is committed to providing disadvantaged children with direct access to books and educational resources that enhance their ability to read and communicate effectively. Go to toysfortots.org.
This is Another Side of Midnight with Walter Sterling. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Walter Sterling.
Red Apple Audio Network's Another Side of Midnight. How many sides? 6 minutes past the hour. A remarkable statement was made about a week ago by former Congressman Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz said,
"This is Roger Stone for American Sovereign Bullion. Since 2020, the U.S. dollar has lost over 20% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold continues to rise. Call 844-272-2428 or go to asbgold.com now to get your free gold and silver guide and learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver delivered to your door or held in a gold IRA today. So go to asbgold.com now. Don't wait for the markets to drop. That's asbgold.com.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
By the time I hit my 50s, I'd learned a few things, like how family is precious. Work can always wait. And 99% of people over 50 already have the virus that causes shingles. Not everyone at risk will develop it, but I did. The painful, blistering rash disrupted my life for weeks. Don't learn about your shingles risk the hard way. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today. Sponsored by GSK.
That he was in, well, I'll tell you in a second what he said, but it's so remarkable that John Catsimatidis, the owner of the Red Apple Audio Networks and host of Katz and Cosby, a great broadcaster, a great entrepreneur, on the phone with us now. We both said, well, how do we get a hold of Senator Gaetz? I mean, I'm sorry, Congressman Gaetz. Lots going on. Congressman Gaetz. And Katz said, well, I know him. My daughter knows him. We'll get a hold of him. Congressman Gaetz, are you there tonight? Are you with us tonight?
Yeah, it's great to be with you, Walter. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to discuss everything going on. First, certainly want to thank the Big Cat for reaching out, and good to have a chance to speak with your audience.
It's an honor to meet you with my listener. I get to meet you with the listener at the very same time. I have followed you for a long time. I lived in Florida for a year, know of your work, know how respected you were among your constituents, and then there was a lot of excitement relative to the job that I, Walter Sterling, felt strongly you should have been able to take as Attorney General of the United States. But believe it or not, you made a statement about 10 days ago that was even bigger than being Attorney General of the United States. And it's about aliens, and it's about our government. Could I ask you to just step back a second and take all the time you want to restate what you said?
Sure. I was in my final year of my final term in Congress, and I was told that a constituent wanted to meet with me who was serving in the United States Army, very well-known 7th Special Forces Green Beret group that was at Camp Old Simons in my district. When I got these type of meetings, sometimes it would be about child care. Sometimes it would be about a vaccine exemption. And so I didn't really know what to expect. And this guy walked in, and he had he was in uniform. He was a senior enlisted service member. He had two kind of gray-haired guys in suits that joined him that he said were with high-end defense contractors, and they indeed confirmed that they were. And he laid out to me that he would be leaving the military soon, but wanted to let me know before he left that he was aware of hybrid breeding programs where captured extraterrestrials were bred with abducted humans to create a hybrid race that the military believed could communicate then with both, people here on Earth and people elsewhere. And I was shocked by the briefing. I had two of my staff with me. I had my general counsel with me, and I had my senior military attaché with me. And when the briefing occurred, the request from this whistleblower was that in these various locations around the country, I would have members of Congress all show up at one time, because he alleged that this was a very mobile enterprise, and that if all members of Congress showed up at these different places at one time, this would be found out and exposed, and this was a service member very upset by this. And that was that we didn't take action on it, but at the end of the day, we were unable to confirm some of the elements of the story, but it did strike me as one of the strangest briefings I ever got.
Matthew Gaetz, I can't even imagine what your gut reaction was. John Catsimatidis, do you have an initial reaction to what Matthew has told us?
Well, I've been a believer of what's going on for a very long time, and there's things we all know that we can't talk about, being Easter night, I will repeat to you what I'm the highest-ranking layperson in the Greek Orthodox Church, what an archbishop once told me. And what an archbishop once told me, when we had a discussion on the way to the West Coast on an airplane, it was just me and him, and I asked him, Your Eminence, what is the church's position on this? And you know what he said? He says, what makes you think our Creator only left his seeds on just one planet?
Mm.
So, well, now,
and I don't know if Matt, Congressman, I refer to a lot of people. If everybody looks at the Washington Post in 1952, July of 1952, front page of the Washington Post, there were 50 UFOs circling the capital of the United States of America. And there was no such thing as drones those days. And I understand that through some of my sources that President Eisenhower met with them, and that a deal was struck. And you haven't seen him circling the Capitol at all in the last since then. And I don't know exactly what the deal was, but I do know that a committee was set up by President, whether it was Truman or Eisenhower, I don't know. But one of the people on that committee was Herbert, President Bush at that time, whatever his position was, the head of the CIA or whatever. Whatever they called it, maybe it wasn't called the CIA in 1952.
Congressman Gaetz, when you were told this about alien hybrid, human hybrid experiments being done by the government, you said some of it was not confirmable. What was confirmable? What part of that story were you able to say, oh, that's true, we found this out, that's true? What part of the story about alien-human hybrid did you believe as a congressman, as a lawyer, as a potential attorney general? I mean, you're a smart guy, and there must have been some parts of that story where you said no way, but other parts that made you go, probably.
Well, the only things we were able to confirm related to the identity and mission set of the people giving us the briefing. and those were real people from real missions at real military components giving us the briefing. Beyond that, no one on my staff believed this conduct was occurring. They all thought this was bogus. I have to say, at times I wondered if I was being punked in some way. But what makes it hard to discount, Walter, is how challenging it's been to get just basic information. When we have asked about craft recovery, which has occurred, we get the runaround. When we want to interview pilots who've had encounters, the military goes to extraordinary lengths to keep those folks away from us. And now we see that, I guess the two things you don't want on your LinkedIn are that you are an Iranian negotiator or someone who's been anywhere around UAP research, because you end up missing pretty quickly with either of those professions currently.
What I have wondered about, Matt, is why, if these crafts are landing, if they are spending government money on alien-human hybrid, if there are black ops budgets that run through the Congress and Senate, secret budgets, billions of dollars to be my guess, to deal with UAPs, UFOs, the overriding question I've always had is, well, why is this being kept from us? What is the problem with us knowing the information? And the only suspicion I've got, and I really be curious about what you think, is that the minute it becomes known that there are aliens from outer space or aliens from a different time or an alien from a different universe, that they are part of our culture, part of our society, part of our earth, the people in power become much less powerful.
I also think it has a lot to do with the movement of money. I think that if this were broadly accepted, the impact on markets and asset classes would shift, and that would create a lot of losers who want to maintain value where they currently have it. At the same time, I'm not entirely sure that there are billions of dollars in black ops budgets going to this. I have a rising suspicion that a whole lot of the actual research and work and spending of funds and facilities are funded by private entities. Aligned contractors, subcontractors with some of these major defense enterprises. And I say that because there's been a lot of literature on who, if anyone, has benefited from craft recovery, reverse engineering, technological exploration, and a lot of times it's been these private sector entities, and moving the spending and the assets there creates an additional layer of secrecy.
The big jet propulsion companies, the Bell Laboratories, the Grummans, all of the companies involved in basic research, reverse engineering, who would be using lasers, computer chips, night vision, plasma, all of those companies that could profit from this, it has always been suspected that they are the ones who benefit from it, that first the U.S. government retrieves these crafts and then sells off pieces to these different private enterprises. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it sells it or just gives it to them. Just in exchange for, entities like Lockheed Martin doing the reverse engineering, they get access to the stuff. And that allows the federal government to not have to have too many government hands on that stuff. But if you look at some of the technologies that have emerged out of the Air Force, out of some of these defense contractors, there's rising suspicion that it may be reverse engineered at some level.
Now, Matt Gaetz, when you were in Congress, how often, if ever, were you given updates, formal updates on, yes, we retrieved a craft, this is what we learned about it? Were you ever sat down in a skiff and said, here's what's going on?
I think the most compelling moment on that specific fact emerged in an open hearing with David Grush, who talked about the specific CIA elements who were engaged in craft retrieval, how that craft retrieval had led to the development of biologics, and how the testing of those biologics showcased non-human elements. And so that hearing took years just to get, and with Mr. Grush there, the whole world heard that information. We on the Armed Services Committee, I served on that committee for 8 years. We would get briefings on UAPs often when we would do installation visits. I would go to Eglin Air Force Base, or I would go to San Diego and the Navy base there, and you would meet, and part of the threat package briefing would be, oh gosh, we had airspace closed this day because we had some UAPs. And sometimes folks would shrug and say, yeah, a drone, a weather balloon, and maybe that would have been the case in some times. But there were other times I met with pilots who said they encountered craft, that were not explainable in those ways. And sometimes getting to those pilots was very challenging through the military leadership.
Well, I think it would be great, Congressman Matt Gaetz, if you would consider taking some questions from the Red Apple Network listeners. Would you do that?
Oh, happy to. Always good to be with you. Happy to chat with your listeners.
All right, let me give a phone number. If you have a question for Congressman Matt Gaetz about his amazing statement that he was informed when he was in Congress that there are, in fact, alien-human hybrid experiments taking place right now, conducted by the U.S. government, plus John Catsimatidis, owner of the Red Apple Audio Networks, here to answer your questions at 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Walter Sterling, Red Apple Audio Networks.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Walter Sterling. This is the Worldwide News Network. Extra.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is trying to stop a local county from spending taxpayer dollars on the legal defense of illegal immigrants. Conservatives say it's absolutely the right move.
Fight for taxpayers, fight for what is right, fight for common sense, and fight for American citizens.
That's Kyle Sinclair with the Republican Party in Bexar County. He says the legal defense fund is a waste of money. He points to studies that show well over 90% of those who apply for asylum are getting their cases thrown out of court. Sinclair continuing.
We have one of the worst debt per capita in the nation, and yet the county decides to use taxpayer funds for illegal immigrants. The county taxpayers, people living in their county, will actually be on the foot for at least up to 80, if not 100% of the bill.
I'm James Flippin, and this is the Worldwide News Network.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Walter Sterling. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Walter Sterling.
All right, Walter Sterling and you at Red Apple Audio Networks, Another Side of Midnight, and there is the great John Catsimatidis, who owns the Red Apple Audio Networks, who also happens to be a fan and a student of UFOs and UAPs, and we have the prime teacher. We have Matt Gaetz, former U.S. Congressman, who was actually informed that the government is conducting human alien hybrid breeding experiments. And you might have some questions about that. Here's the number. You can talk to Matt Gaetz at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. This is a live radio show, and I look forward to talking with you at 800-848-9222. Fran, is Fran there? Did Fran go? Fran went. All right, coming up. Is that Fran? Can we talk to Fran? Hi.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling. Do you have a question for Matt Gaetz?
Yes, but just first, Mr. Catsimatidis, thank you so much for all you do for us, for New York, for America. The station is incredible. You're incredible. It's a wonderful thing. In my life, in the last year, I've wanted to talk to all three of you or meet you, and here it is, all three of you together.
You can meet all of us if you're buying.
Yeah, you kidding me? I'll buy 3 times.
All right.
But it's just funny. I wake up in the middle of the night. And all three is together. It's incredible.
And I have to thank my daughter, Andrea Catsimatidis, for putting me and Matt Gaetz together.
Yes, and I just like to say, too, I didn't know how many children or if you had children, John, but it just goes to show you what a great parent you are, that they're never in the news for the wrong reasons. You're a wonderful guy, and I love everything about the radio station. Thank you for everything you do. My question is this. I'm sitting here, and I like I said, I like all threes. I respect all threes, and I believe all threes. But it's hard to believe. You know what I mean? It's amazing that I'm 61, and there could be some kind of alien out, anything. I believe that there is another power out there. Like you said, John, God didn't just put a seed here. I don't think so. You know what I mean? It's an amazing thing. But why? My point would be, why hasn't it come out? Why haven't we seen an alien, a ship? You know what I mean? I know we've seen like UFOs, but why is it in certain areas? And it's just such a fascinating thing. And the government, look at Matt. My question to you would be, I mean, look at you. The government is so strong that they blackmailed you, I think. And all of a sudden now you're not in the government. You know what I mean? You're congressman or the attorney general. And what do you say about that? I just think that there's just a higher power. And it's unbelievable. How do you make me a believer? I'm trying.
No. Well, thanks for the kind words. And it is unbelievable. And I'm not entirely sure I believe it, right? I share a briefing I received. The person that gave me that briefing could have been wrong. They could have been lying. They could have thought they've seen something they didn't see. They could have been passing along secondhand information. It was remarkable to me that I was even getting that briefing. Almost unbelievable. And what makes me continue to ask questions from my role now in the media is that they don't seem to want to answer them. Like you say, Fran, well, how come we haven't found more stuff? Like, what if we have? What if we have found more stuff and they won't answer questions about the stuff we have found? And then when you talk about certain areas, I'll share with you a theory that my fellow Congressman Tim Burchett holds, and it's not one I've fully fleshed out completely, but Burchett believes there are certain areas that get more of this activity because the reason some of these beings are stopping off here is for resource extraction. Why haven't they been hostile to us? If they've been here just for conquest of us, why haven't they started wars or killed a bunch of people? Burchett believes this is a stop-off on a journey, and that in certain places, particularly where there's a great deal of water or other resources they need, you get a high concentration of activity, and then they're on their way.
Congressman Matt Gaetz on another side of midnight, answering questions about UFOs, UAPs, and secret briefings that he was given when he was in Congress. The fact that you and another congressman talked about why are the aliens here tells me that the aliens are here. Silas, welcome to Another Side of Midnight with John Catsimatidis, Walter Sterling, and Congressman Matt Gaetz. Hi, Silas.
Yeah, I wanted to float another theory. And maybe the creator or whatever force created things, maybe it did drop one seed in this galaxy, which would be mankind, to find out if we were able to grow, if we were able to finally smarten up and work together. We just like a seed in the ground can grow to a large acorn. A seed on planet Earth could grow and start to populate the galaxy. Maybe we're the only ones right now. And the sooner we smarten up and work together, the sooner we'll travel into outer space. And I also believe that maybe the UFO thing could just be something that they're keeping up to keep making money. Like, the government obviously has made up a lot of lies to us, so they could keep funding something that could be phony. They could say, well, we found vampires, and we want to keep funding this program for people who want to become billionaires, but they don't want to do the work, like Catsimatidis. So this is just a vehicle for them to keep funding stuff.
Silas, thank you very much for the call. Congressman Gaetz, did you ever get the feeling that there were a number of propaganda lines about UFOs and UAPs and perhaps other areas that were being pushed by a variety of sources to just keep money flowing to them? Do you ever suspect that?
We're the only ones right now.
Silas, thank you very much.
We'll start up and work together. Thank you.
Congressman Gaetz, what do you think about that? That a lot of these stories were floated to keep funding various projects.
I think that we would see more of that at a higher level. Again, I'm not aware of a great federal expenditure on this. They may exist, and that may be within some of the black budgets in the Intelligence Committee I didn't see. I did crack a smile at Silas's remarks about sort of this duty of mankind to have this manifest destiny across the galaxy. And it's not just similar to how Elon Musk talks, right? That this is like the obligation of mankind to become the multiplanetary species. So I think Silas and Elon may have been drawing from some of the same inspiration.
Nicely put. You and I are on WGN in Chicago. We're proud to be on WGN in Chicago. Ken in Brooklyn, welcome to Another Side of Midnight with John Catsimatidis, Walter Sterling, and Congressman Matt Gaetz. Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to ask the subject of religion was brought up by John Catsimatidis. I just wanted to know how much has been, as far as things in the Bible about resurrection, and I just wanted to know about that, and also how's that connected to the UFO controversy, and also what if they have done hybridization? Is the second question is how many people that have been hybridized are in our government? Those are my two questions.
So you're talking about the lizard people running our government? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about actual hybrids that actually look like humans that are in Congress and in our government.
Ken, thank you very much for the call. Thank you very much for the call, Ken. I appreciate it. 800-848-9222. I don't think any of us are qualified to determine how many alien hybrids are currently in Congress, but I'm sure there are many theories about that. John Catsimatidis and Congressman Matt Gaetz are on Another Side of Midnight answering questions about an amazing conversation that Matt Gaetz had when he was still in Congress. Grown-ups came to... Go ahead, Matt.
This is John Catsimatidis. I wanted to say something. Is that the planet Earth, if you look at it very carefully, is a living entity. It makes corrections to itself. The purpose of hurricanes, the purpose of typhoons, the purpose of is to control the overall temperature of the planet Earth. We've talked about it before. The oil that people used to call fossil fuels is not fossil fuels. The planet Earth makes the oil to create what do you call it? Within the plates of the Earth to create a lubricant factor. That's why in places like Oklahoma, if you frack too much and you take too much oil out of the system, you end up with earthquakes until the planet Earth really readjusts itself. And the other thing I believe in, that the intelligence community, and this goes back a zillion years, and Matt, you're someplace in California now, that in Hollywood, the intelligence community used to feed information to Hollywood just to keep them abreast of, just in case something happened, it wouldn't be a total surprise to all the American citizens. And I believe that Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek, if you look back at Star Trek, the amount of information that they were feeding you is coming 60 years later. I think Star Trek is out for 60 years. Some of that stuff is coming to fruition. And I remember looking at some of the Star Trek shows from the early 1990s, and they were using iPads and iPhone-type instruments. I was told that not Gene Roddenberry's father or mother, that somebody older than that and grandfather was in the intelligence community back in those days, which is a long time ago. And the other thing that Congressman Gaetz said is possibly a lot of this money is not funded by the government, so nobody has to make disclosures, and that the people that President Eisenhower possibly put together took some of this knowledge that came from some of those UFOs, because our intelligence, since 1947, we have moved at warp speed on medicine, on technology, et cetera, warp speed. And that they were giving slowly stuff to, like, Bell Labs and Lockheed and other organizations, Grumman, and gave them information. And because of giving the information, a lot of that stuff was funded by private industry. That way, it wasn't disclosable to Congress, et cetera. And I turn it over to Matt, Congressman Gaetz.
Yeah, I would just add, the allegation that was made to me, and to be clear, this was just an allegation about the hybrid program. The purpose was not to reintroduce hybrids into society, to live among us and get elected to public office. The limited purpose was to have the hybrids as a communication vessel to other extraterrestrials. That the belief was the only way to have an effective line of communication was through this program. So I found that to be interesting, but again unconfirmed. And there's been a lot of literature about how that warp speed that John just referenced benefited from stuff that the U.S. government gave these defense contractors. And if they were giving satellite access, if they were giving internet code, if they were giving all this other stuff, of course, if there was craft recovery, and I do believe there's been craft recovery based on the sworn testimony we've received that's been unrefuted, that probably made it into the same information stream back to those defense contractors.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Did you the two-star general that's missing? Did you ever met him at all? For all of our guests that don't know, I did
not know General McCaslin. However, I have known multiple other people who had the same, which is running the Air Force Research Lab. Most of the people who have run the Air Force Research Lab, have at one point or another made their way through Eglin Air Force Base, which is in my old district in North Florida. So, I know a number of people who've been in that talent pipeline. I did not know General McCaslin. I think it's crazy, by the way, Walter and John, that you don't have the FBI out there affirming that they are looking into the work-related connections of these people who had access to the UAP program and who have disappeared with, in some cases, with very little trace of evidence.
Major General McCaslin's wife, when she called 911, and this was just released a couple days ago, her 911 call was just released, she explained that her husband was very methodical and would not have left without the wallet, would not have left without the watch, unless he wanted to not be found. Those were her words. She knew her husband. She said the only way he would leave without that phone and without that watch is he made a decision to not be found. And I think the reason, and I think John's question is exactly right, I think the reason that the FBI is not looking is they don't need to. They know exactly what happened. Karen, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Matt Gaetz and John Catsimatidis. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to speak with all of you. In Genesis 6, we have a group of angels that came down on Mount Hermon. They defected from, they were supposed to, their abode was actually in the heavenlies, and they disobeyed God, and they came down here and took on human form. Now, you read in Genesis 6 that they took wives for themselves. They were human women, and they mated with them, and they created giants. These were hybrids. These were angelic and human hybrids, and they were very violent on the earth.
Well,
and
Karen, with respect, and Happy Easter, there's nothing there that we can confirm or review. We just don't have the evidence in front of us. Thank you very much for calling Another Side of Midnight at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Norman, you're on Another Side of Midnight. Hi.
Good morning, Walter. Good morning, Mr. Catsimatidis, and good morning, Congressman Gaetz. I don't believe any of this. I think, look, I'm extremely skeptical. I believe what I can see, what I can hear, and what I can smell. As far as this goes, it is an allegation to Congressman Gaetz. This is not, apparently, this is nothing he absolutely saw with his eyes. And, when I see the aliens in front of me, then I will say, yes, there are aliens. Until then, this is all just theory.
Go to the Washington Post in July 1952 and tell me about the 50 UFOs circling the Capitol, and you go from there. Okay.
Thanks very much for the call, Norman. Thank you very much for the call at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. I would be remiss as a broadcaster, Congressman Gaetz, I'd be remiss if I did not ask you, former candidate for Attorney General of the United States, your personal reflection, thought, opinion, freedom of speech opinion about what happened to Attorney General Bondi this week.
I think she will go down as one of America's great crime fighters. I think that what she did to the cartels will create more safety and opportunity for Americans for a long time. I think that her expansion of executive power has paved the way for a lot of the deportations that were successful. She beat back those nationwide injunctions that were hampering the administration. So I think it's a great success. I also think that there'll be a new era with Todd Blanche. I know him well. He's the acting attorney general now, and I think you're going to see a lot of activity in the prosecution of some of the Russia hoax activity and the weaponization against the country.
Hello?
Well, he must have dropped off. We'll get him back on again.
Yeah.
But you asked me the same question. I will say to you, one of the items that I was concerned about with Kristi Noem, and I've known her, and again, my daughter knowed her, and the fact is, when I met with the president before the election of 2016, November 2024, I said to him that 80% of the people want to get rid of all the killers, the major criminals, the drug dealers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think the American people have a heart. We didn't want to necessarily go after the nannies, the waiters, the busboys, and the cab drivers, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we could deal with that later. But the major item was, let's get rid of the major criminals that were endangering the United States citizens. And I think that's one of the items. I can't speak for the president, but I've had discussions. But I think that was one of the major items that, and Tom Homan, who got the major portion of the job to take care of things in Minnesota, I believe that's his beliefs too.
And Katz, in your opinion, what do you think was the linchpin that ended Bondi's time here?
The key item?
Yes.
She lied.
She what?
She lied.
What was the lie?
I know the story. I know it firsthand.
Please tell. Can you tell the story?
Senator John Kennedy and talked to the president and says, "You want me to ask you that question?" And during the Senate hearings, Senator John Kennedy went and asked her the question. You spent $220 million promote yourself riding a horse and being a hero. Did the president know that you were spending that $220 million? And she said, yes, he knew. And that was 100% lie. And that really, I'm allowed to say on the air, pissed off the president.
Yeah, you can say that. That's a good thing to say.
That pissed off the president.
Then he had no choice. When you're dealing with that kind of money and those kind of positions, it didn't even matter what the lie was about.
$220 million of her riding a horse and getting rid of the nannies and the busboys and the waiters.
In that position,
I gave you my 2 cents.
No, I believe you. In that position, anybody who throws away that kind of money did not have permission to have that kind of money. It didn't even matter what it was for. It's a dynamic between you and your boss, and she lied. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
John Catsimatidis, it is an honor to have you on Another Side of Midnight to upgrade the broadcast in a way that that few can. I totally enjoy having you on the show. And it'd be very easy for me to say that to, Kiss, but it's just a radio fact. You're just a treat.
Well, I'm glad Congressman Matt Gaetz had come on. I guess he got knocked off someplace. I'm sure he'll be on again with us. And he's a very smart guy. And the only thing I was upset with him on was the time that he voted against my friend Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, my God. Yes, I agree. No, he's welcome here anytime.
But he's a very smart guy and cares about America.
Congressman Matt Gaetz, great guest on Another Side of Midnight. John Catsimatidis, terrific. Always a pleasure to have you here, sir. Another Side of Midnight with Walter Sterling on the Red Apple Audio Networks.
Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.